Good afternoon. Hi, it's Trish. I am with Hip Homeschool Moms, and I'm here with Durenda Wilson from Simple Nourishing Home and Jenna Fairbanks. Hey, Jenna.
Hey.
And Durenda. Jenna is Durenda's daughter. So, Durenda, tell us what we're doing here.
Well, we thought it would be really fun to have a former homeschooler, she's homeschooled all the way through, um, answer some questions that some of the moms might have if they had a homeschooler to get their hands on. And so we put that out there and got a bunch of questions, and Jenna is willing to answer them and talk about her homeschool experience. She is our second daughter out of 8 kids, so I'm excited to have her here today.
Me too. Me too. So, thank you for joining us and being our guinea pig, you know?
Thanks for having me.
She's used to that.
I know. We'll be kind to you, okay?
Okay.
Dorenda's mom, you can fuss at her later, so there you go.
That's right.
Okay, so we actually did this interview earlier this week, and our technology blew up on us, so we are redoing. So if we sound a little bit canned, we don't mean to, but there were so many funny things that Jenna said that I have to ask a lot of them all over again. So we're going to try to recreate it and do the best we can, and if it sounds a tiny bit canned, y'all just going to have to cut us some slack. That's just all it is. So the first question that I started with last week, see, I'm trying to make it last week. I made it Monday. I don't know what day it is. Today is Thursday. I'm so lost. A blonde is coming out, and I'm really not blonde. But anyway, so one of the questions that we asked earlier in the week that I really was surprised that nobody asked in the list of questions. Weren't you, Durenda? That nobody asked us?
I was. Yeah.
So if we are all supposed to be supposedly not very socialized, all these children are stuck at home and they don't get out. So Jenna is married, and she married a homeschooler on top of that named Sam. So one of my questions was, how on earth did you meet a man? You were not supposed to be out talking to anybody and socializing. So tell us how you met Sam.
Well, we kind of knew his family because we live near a small town and everything. His dad is in insurance and had been our insurance guy for years. So we kind of knew about their family, but I didn't actually meet. I was 18 and going to the same church as him. And he just showed up one day, and there he was.
That was good. Now,
Yeah,
you told a really funny story about what your mom always told you about how you were going to meet somebody. So you have to tell us that story. That was hilarious.
She's like, well, it could be the UPS guy, because we lived way out in the sticks. And I was like, oh, I hope not, because he was creepy. Exactly instill good things. I was like, kind of made me lose hope.
Here I thought I was being so encouraging, I thought a miracle could happen. It could be the UPS guy, it could be anybody. The point was he could show up on our doorstep, God can do that. And apparently it wasn't as encouraging as I had hoped. I worried her and creeped her out more than anything.
So then she thought the UPS guy was stalking her. Okay, yes, you go get the delivery, would you? Send the boys. Yeah, the girls don't want to go. That's too funny. I love that story.
It was hard enough to get him to drive the packages all the way to our door.
They didn't like our driveway.
Too funny. Y'all must have a long driveway.
We do.
Yep. I saw that you have your boys out there working on the driveway. Poor things. I feel sorry for them now.
Well, it's part of our homeschool day, right?
That's right. I know. I'm just picking on you.
We're talking about work ethic. We're going to be talking about that some more. There you have it.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so last time I let y'all go through and pick the ones that were your favorites. Is there one that we want to start with this time? Oh, here it is. Since we're talking about Sam, let's start with, was your husband homeschooled? That seems like the nice place to, natural place to start, doesn't it?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was homeschooled.
So tell us about it. So from what I understand, you said y'all used to pass each other in a park and
Yes, he grew up about 3 blocks from the parent partnership program that I attended. So he would longboard by my school and play hacky sack, if any of you know what that is.
I do,
It was
actually,
kind of
not that old.
well, you never know.
I know. So,
Um,
so when
but
does he have brothers and sisters and siblings, or is he an only
yeah,
child?
he has 5 sisters and 4 brothers. So
Oh my goodness, his family's
yeah,
bigger than yours.
yeah, it is. It's crazy, and you
Can you
know,
imagine the get-togethers y'all are going to have?
oh,
Yeah, actually,
yeah,
we've been getting together on the 4th of July at his family's house, and so it's just a blast. We play volleyball and
You
eat
bring
and
each of you bring a whole team. I guess so.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was great. We had so much fun, and you didn't have to play if you didn't want to because there was plenty of people. So yeah, it was a blast. But our kids went to a parent partnership program once a week. It was extra classes, just kind of above and beyond the normal stuff, ballet, Irish dance, drama, that's all in one place, one day a week. It was wonderful. But yeah, that's what she's talking about. She was saying she was there and she would see him with his group of friends, and it was not her cup of tea at that time. It was quite hilarious that they met just a couple years later, and they hit it off, and it's been great. He's awesome.
he was a completely different person when I actually met him for reals. So
Isn't that funny? That is
it
so
is
funny. So, from a homeschool perspective, we didn't ask this earlier, but I'm going to ask it now because I'm thinking about it. So, from a homeschool perspective, I know you said that y'all haven't really talked that much about how he homeschooled, but are you similar? I mean, did he have? I know your mom. We do mentoring moms every week with Durenda, so we sort of know that y'all are more on the not completely unschoolers, but certainly leaning that way.
Right.
So are they the same way? I mean, do y'all have similar experiences?
He was, from what I know, it was very much a lot of book work, a lot of tests. His mom was a little bit more academically geared.
Yeah,
with that,
using
which is
curriculum.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
It worked great for him.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they weren't much for unschooling, and
Isn't that
their
fun?
curriculum was they used a lot of Christian curriculum.
Yeah, that's
I
wild.
forget the ones that they used, but
Right,
So it's
and
going to be
Sam.
interesting. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just college.
So it's going to be really.
But he's
We both have a delay.
yeah,
Sorry.
we do. But he's currently a manager at a fitness center that actually has 4 locations, and he's just doing a fantastic job there, a phenomenal job. He does the hiring and all of that, and so he's just really found his niche, and he loves it. And he didn't have any education past high school, but he's a learner. He's just dives in and studies and learns everything he can about what he's doing, and it's really paying off. He's just doing a phenomenal job.
Well, that's something we try to instill in our kids is lifelong learning and that love of learning and realizing that it's not, it doesn't stop once you have graduated, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So he embodies that.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So is there another question that naturally goes there? I haven't read through these questions. Can you tell? Shh. I wasn't prepared for time. Okay, we're going to have a pregnant pause.
Okay,
while I
maybe the
read.
best and the worst memories of homeschooling.
That's a good one. Yeah, that was a really good one. Okay, there you go.
all right.
What are the best and worst memories? Yeah.
Worst memory would be Saxon math, starting that first day doing that, because I hated that program, and I did it most of the way through high school, but I hated every second, kicking and screaming. Just didn't fit my learning style very well. So yes, that would be my worst memory. Best memory was of more of an unschooling thing. My mom would, for whatever reason, I cannot understand why she let me do this, but she let me go into the kitchen and just bake something, anything, experiment, cook, whatever I wanted. And at first it was, like, I want to make cookies, I want to make brownies, and, all the easy sugary stuff. And then it kind of evolved into, well, how healthy can I make it? So I had a lot of kitchen time, and it was just so much fun. It's one of my best memories growing up.
And she is a whiz in the kitchen. She's wonderful with seasonings and that kind of stuff. She can make anything taste good. It's amazing. So it definitely paid off. And she also has been helping, has been part of helping Sam with the nutrition aspect of his clients at this fitness center. And so that was kind of a neat way that her homeschooling sort of segued into what her husband ended up doing and being able to contribute that way. So it's fun to see all of that play out. As a mom, you know, you just kind of, you do the best you can and you hope it's enough, and then you watch them just blossom and use the things that they happen to learn along the way, and it's really rewarding.
Well, it's interesting too, because one of the things that we that you and I have talked about a lot, Durenda, is following the child and letting the child's natural talents and natural loves blossom and grow, and then fostering that and encouraging that. And ironically, one of the questions has been about, did she feel prepared? Wasn't that one of the questions?
Right. Yep. It
is.
Is.
So what is that question? So I can put it up there. But it's essentially, did you feel like you were prepared for life or for your calling due to, is this it, the very last one? Did you grow up planning for a career outside the home? Did your education like that? Do you feel it's okay for girls to be raised with an emphasis on domestic skills rather than academics? So yeah. So ironically, that's exactly what did happen with y'all. So talk about that, Jenna.
Well, I never really felt called towards the really ever want a career or anything like that. I loved being at home. I loved babies. I loved babysitting. I loved everything about working in the home. And so I ended up just gearing my own education. I still got a high school diploma. I still went out and earned that. But I definitely feel it's not a bad idea to gear girls' education towards domestic skills, because that's what 99% of us end up doing eventually anyway, even if we do have a career.
We all have, yeah, exactly. We all have kids. We all have homes. We all have families that we're taking care of. Even if you do work outside of the home, those skills still are put to use.
There will still be laundry to wash and dishes to wash, and you will be cooking and cleaning, and no matter what.
And what order were you born in? So in the birth order of things, where are you?
The second of 8.
Okay.
And she has an older sister.
So you got lots of experience being the babysitter and the person that cooked and things like that. So isn't that fantastic? Isn't that amazing how your life, Durenda, actually prepared her for her life so amazingly? That's what a blessing.
Well, and the thing that I remember, or that I've realized about Jenna since she's graduated, is that she, you know, I let her pursue a lot of her own interests on her own through reading, and I think she mentioned last time watching a lot of documentaries and just anything that was really interesting to her. And she has acquired an amazing amount of knowledge about history. We'll be sitting at the table, and all of a sudden something will come up, and she'll say, "Oh, I remember that guy back in da-da-da," and she'll go on and tell everybody this information that I never remember her learning, because she learned interesting to her. And so the funny thing is, the other day, our 19-year-old that's in college was home as well, and he and Jenna got into a conversation about life on other planets and how which planets could potentially be places that could sustain life if you did A, B, C, and D. I got up and left the room because I was like, I'm not tracking with any of this. And our 19-year-old son said, he said, "Oh, look at her, the homeschooling mom leaves the room."
Too funny.
That was hilarious.
So don't you love it when the kids get old enough that they can actually sit down and have an intellectual conversation with you? I love that
Yes,
phase.
yes. And a lot of that has happened around the dinner table too. And that's one thing I haven't really talked about a lot about, but I'd like to, maybe write a post on it. It's just that sitting around the dinner table at night. I can't tell you how many conversations we've gotten into about politics, religion, how people live their life, you name it, and the debating that goes on, and there's a healthy way to argue. It's debating, and you can manage all that while you're eating dinner, and it's just a really great real life classroom.
Around here, they have a bunch of signs, and I don't know where they're coming from, but it's called the family table. You can drive down the road, and you'll see these houses that have family table, and I assume that's what they're talking about, is having,
Right.
dinner together at night. And that's actually something we do. My husband works. We're rural, very rural too, and so he doesn't get home until about 7 at night, and so we hold dinner till he gets home, and so our day is sort of shifted. So I imagine, but because that emphasis on the family table, and so
Hmm.
here's Jenna getting ready to have a baby, and I bet that will be a tradition that is passed down. What do you think, Jenna?
I think so. I didn't have a dining room table for the first year of our marriage, actually. So,
That's
so
okay.
I have one now,
There you go.
and I
There you
can't wait to use it.
Isn't that sweet? Oh, I love hearing stories about when you're first starting out.
Oh
Yes.
gosh, we
It's so
had
precious.
nothing to start out with. It's
But
actually
some of those stories will be stories that you pass down to your children about those
Mhm.
struggles, and those are who make us. When it's
Yeah.
easy, sometimes those when things are handed to us on a silver platter, we don't appreciate them. Those
oh, definitely.
struggles will be
Right.
something that shape you and your husband and your relationship for years
Yeah,
to come.
yep, I think so too. I think the bonding that happens in the early marriage when you're struggling to, make ends meet, you have to work together and you have to, talk about things, you have to communicate, and it does lay a good foundation for
It
marriage.
really
And
does.
yeah,
I
and
agree.
Sam and Jenna are great communicators. They're real open with each other, and they just have a great relationship. I love watching them together.
That phase I haven't hit yet. I can't even imagine. I can't even fathom daughter-in-law. Actually, Durenda and I talked about, one day
Yeah, we
she's training
did.
me. She's the mentoring mom to me because, she's got in-laws, children in-laws, and I don't yet. So she's training me for the future. So y'all be sure to train her good, right? So she can train me.
Oh, well, I have
Okay,
son-in-laws, but I don't have daughter-in-laws yet. So
you will.
Yeah,
You
she's
got a
scared of
bunch of
that.
boys. That's
I'm scared of
right.
that. Yeah.
I am too. So y'all, say prayers for all of us because we got a
That's
bunch of
right.
boys.
That's
Okay, so
right.
the next one is, in what ways do you feel that homeschooling impacted your life positively, and what values did it teach you?
Above all, work ethic,
Mm.
because if I wanted something like a high school diploma, I had to go make it happen. I didn't have teachers telling me to get my homework done. There was no one keeping an eye on my grades. It was all up to me. So,
Yeah,
um,
talk about that because last time you talked about how you actually had to make the decision. There were two different routes,
mhm,
if I'm not mistaken, that you could take, and you
yeah.
chose the hard route. You took the tough road. So tell us about that. Why did you do that?
Um, it was a challenge, and I just felt better about a high school diploma than I did about a homeschool diploma. Um, Simply because it was more official, and if I ever was in a situation where I did need to find a job, that's a great thing to have.
That's
People
right.
who see a homeschool diploma, they don't always respect it like they should. Um, so that's why I got the high school diploma. The parent partnership program that I attended approached me and asked if I wanted to go the academic route and get a high school diploma, and I said yes. And from then on, I took the classes that I needed to. I earned the credits that I needed to at home, and just made it happen. But it was hard. It's hard to do from home. It's hard when you don't have teachers constantly ribbing you to get your schoolwork done, and asking you about your grades. So it was a whole new level of accountability.
And you rose to the challenge, though. You graduated, so there you go.
Yeah, I did
She
it.
did. And one of the things that we got to do, because we were technically homeschooling, but she was earning her credits at home, but we had to be creative as to how she was going to do that, because like she said, we didn't have a teacher going, here's the textbook. And we could do that. That was an option for some of the classes, but we chose not to do that. And so we had to figure out what was going to work best for her and put in the hours and make sure that she met that criteria. And it was really good, I think, at the high school level for our kids to be accountable to somebody else, meaning the transcript and the consultant that was helping make sure that it all got done, and having just to have to own it themselves, and that was a big thing.
I think that's something that a lot of homeschoolers haven't really thought through yet, and when they get to this high school level, it's a very different feel, but I really believe that too. I think that independence, Jenna just said it. Jenna said that was one of the things that it taught her, was that work ethic. And so if we are going to teach them a work ethic and teach our children to own and be responsible, we have to give them that accountability. So, yeah. So what else did you learn? Work ethic? What else?
Just, being accountable to myself. And just for whatever I was doing, I was completely responsible for my education at that point. Taught me patience.
And so did you have teachers at all?
Teachers? I did. There were a couple of classes that I had to take in order to get the diploma. One of them was for, I think, an economics credit. I had to take a class called Current World Problems, and it was the hardest class I had yet come across, because the teacher was actually from the public school, and I think he may have been a college professor as well. So the college attitude was like steeped into that class, and the level of homework that we were doing was it was about 15 hours of homework every week, and that's a lot for a homeschooler.
Yes, especially an unschooled, for leaning that way, an unschooler homeschooler. I bet you were in culture shock when you went into that class.
Well, it was just learning to take in and then regurgitate the information, essentially, in essays and reports.
But ironically, isn't this the same class that your son said that it was the one that prepared him the most for college?
Yes. Yeah, she took this with her brother, who's a couple years younger than her, and he's currently a senior in college, and he told me that was the class that prepared him the most for college, because it was demanding, and it was more like what he experienced when he started going to college. So he had at least something to look back on and say, oh, I remember how this works. I did it in this class. And so that was awesome. I was really thankful for that. The other thing is, I think Jenna shared this earlier in the week. You should tell him about what the teacher said to you, how he was trying to press you into going to college. Yeah. Let's hear that story.
He's very insistent that I go to college. He wrote me a letter of recommendation, and I still have it. But he wrote me a letter of recommendation, and he asked what my plans were, and I just said I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And he's like, "You're too smart for that. You're too bright for that." I'm like,
yeah, and I'm over thinking, wait a second. He was taught by a mom at home who homeschooled her.
Exactly.
If Durenda had known it, then that guy might have gotten a new perspective on homeschool moms, huh?
Yeah, I would have given him a new perspective on it, but I was kind of just like, huh? When he asked. I was like, why would you say that?
That's naivete, not really, that's the culture we live in. We talked about this the other day. That's the culture we live in, that, and honestly, in my world, I did do the whole career thing and then became a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. And I actually feel like I was sold a pack of lies. I was told that you could do it all. Well, you can't do it all. I'm just telling you, you can't do it all well. That's right. You can do it all and be spread thin and not be able to really do any of it well. But if you want to do half of it well, and
Right.
you really have to, yeah. And I say that all the time. I was lied to. They sold me a bill of goods. So,
Well, and can I just say something? Because I just feel like the moms who are listening right now, you just need to know that what you're doing matters. It is making a difference, and it's hard. It's hard to get up every day and sometimes to face those kids every single day and get through the schoolwork that you feel like they need to get through. You never know what you're going to get that day. It could be anything. And, the kids could be great. They could be awful. It could be wonderful. It could be terrible. It could be all of that in the same 30 seconds of any one day, given day. But the honest truth is your presence makes a difference. You're with them. You're showing them by keeping them at home with you and trying to school them at home that you really, really care about their future. And so I just want to encourage you.
That's a good way to go into this question, actually, because how would you suggest combating lazy days when kids won't do a thing?
There you go.
It's a great segue. Good point.
I'd have to say, sometimes you just need to let them. That's where the unschooling comes in, because there are days when it's just not happening, and it's not that anybody's being openly defiant. It's just the attitudes aren't in the right place, their eyeballs aren't in the right place,
Their hormones aren't cooperating.
Exactly.
Everything is just not going that direction. And it's okay to take those days and go on a nature hike or do a science experiment. Go online, go to Pinterest. They have great resources for little science experiment projects. Or you can use that as like a carrot for them. Just a reward for, okay, get this done and we can go do this, So that's probably how I would recommend handling it, because you could force them to continue to do their schoolwork that day, but at the end of the day, I don't know how much they like you.
And how much they would even absorb.
Yeah, how much they would absorb if they're just not there, they're distracted and they're frustrated.
And I think sometimes and when they get that break, a lot of times, all kids go through phases too, where they just seem to like hit a wall for a while of learning, and we can easily get frustrated thinking that
we're doing something wrong or something's changed.
Yeah, exactly. And the way homeschool is, there is an ebb and flow to it. And if you can wrap your head around that and remember that from day to day, it'll bring your stress level down. And your kids know when you're, so if you can kind of wrap your head around that, keep your stress level down, and just enjoy your kids and make the most of the day, whatever that looks like, and be content with that. That's the beauty of homeschooling. That's why we're homeschooling, is we've got that flexibility to let our kids be kids and to enjoy the day. And sometimes we just need a break from each other. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, why don't you just go play Legos for a while, and I'm going to go do this over here. And that's okay too sometimes. You want to keep a healthy relationship with your kids, and by doing that, you ignite that love for learning, because they're going to associate good feelings and good emotions and good experiences with learning. And as long as that's happening, most of the time, it's not going to be happening all the time, obviously, but if it's happening most of the time, I think you've got a good thing going.
And that's one of the reasons why we homeschool year-round, is so we can do that. We don't, we take a lighter load during the summer. We keep math going all year long, because we have learned that if you stop math, it's
it's really hard to get back into.
It is
so hard. So we keep math going all year long, and so our load isn't always heavy in the summertime. But that's one of the things that if you take that break, like Jenna was suggesting, and just do a not necessarily a nothing day, but a day that's different. It's just not, it
Right.
wasn't planned. It wasn't on the agenda. Just do something, that's more fun or more spontaneous. And long as you have those days built in, it doesn't matter. And it wouldn't even matter as long as it's halfway school related, and I think life is educational. So,
It is. It
you
is.
know,
And kids are natural learners, and I think that whole thing of cueing in on your kids and what is it they're finding interesting and letting them pursue it. And, I find my kids have learned the most when I just butt out and let them go for it. The biggest thing was just not overloading them and burning them out. And the second thing was just teaching them how to find out what they want to know. Like, for instance, our 10-year-old the other day, we're riding in the car on the way to go grocery shopping, and he said, "Mom, where does cinnamon come from?" And I said, "Well, I think it comes from cinnamon bark, the bark on a tree, but we should look that up." So we came home and we looked it up and got to look at pictures and everything to see what it looks like and all the different ways it's used and where it grows and all of that. And it's just those kinds of things, and he'll probably always remember that.
Well, something else that Jenna mentioned the other day, speaking of cinnamon, you talked about all the spices and how much your mom
Yes.
let you experiment with all those spices and condiments and stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so expensive, Mom. So you're getting a whole newfound appreciation for her allowing you to run in those unschool ways, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because it was like right after she got married. She came home and she was like, "Oh, can I make this or that?" And she was kind of sheepishly asking me, "Can I make this or that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." She goes, "Mom, you've always been really good about that. Why did you let me do that? Ingredients are expensive." And I was like, "Oh, okay, this is one of those aha moments after they leave the house that they realize, wow, that was expensive."
Yeah. I don't know if it was just she didn't want to fight me on it, or if what.
Are you kidding? She appreciated the fact that you were helping in the kitchen. Are you
I
kidding?
did appreciate that. And, I don't even remember anything that she ever made that we couldn't eat. So,
There you go.
I trusted her.
One.
You did
smelled
what?
like cigarettes. I burnt
Really?
It was just leftovers, but I was warming it up for lunch, and I burnt the crud out of it, and it smelled like cigarettes.
We have a funny story in the house that happened to me when I was making grits, and y'all probably don't even eat grits. You probably don't even know what grits is, but anyway. Okay, well, we were cooking grits, and it comes in a box. It's like a grain almost. And so, anyway, I had set the box on one eye, and I had the pot of water on another eye. Well, I set the box on fire because I had turned on the wrong eye. Now, in my defense, I have a Gen and it's on that side of the Gen the controls are wired backwards, and so I turned on the right eye, but the right knob, but it turns on the wrong eye. And so anyway, I literally set the box on fire, and then I had to put it out, and my kids were like, "Oh, Mom, you saved the day! You're a hero!" And I laugh about it now. It's like, yeah, I was the one that set it on fire, though, y'all. I have one of those too, Jenna. I'll have one of those. I bet your mom has one of those. What'd you set on fire? I know you.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Oh, yeah. Dish towels, things like that,
Oh, exploding bread pans.
Oh, yes. Oh, that was bad. Yeah. I set the bread pans on the stove after. Is that what happened? I set them on the stove after I took them out of the oven, not realizing the stovetop was still hot. Yeah. They pretty much exploded. So,
boom!
We've all done it. We've all done it.
Oh my goodness.
Now you have your story. Now you have a story to tell.
That's right.
So, okay. So, have you been studying these questions? Is there a nice segue?
I have one that I think she should answer.
Okay. What is it?
Okay, I'm considering letting my middle/high school age kids make the decision each year whether or not they want to go to public school. Do you think you would have ever tried public school?
Maybe for a couple of days, and there were times that I kind of wanted to try it, but no, when you weigh the pros and cons, like really weigh it, like why would I not want to get my schoolwork done in 4 hours in my jammies versus 8 hours and having to get up early and like, no. No. And in high school, I may have like wanted to, just more for the social aspect than anything. But middle school, definitely not, because that's when kids are at their meanest.
It is the truth. It's so true.
Oh, so you had mentioned about last time about the social aspect of high school and how you may have been tempted to stay a little bit longer because of that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would have probably gone out for cheerleading or something like that, like track. I would have enjoyed the extracurricular aspects of it more than the actual school part. So,
right.
And I don't think I would have been very comfortable asking the teachers questions.
Mm-hmm.
Not as comfortable, because it takes me a while to get things sometimes, but I don't want to feel like the only idiot who's not getting it,
Oh, that is so funny. I did the same thing in college. I told Jenna last time about me failing algebra twice. And anyway, so but I did. I felt the exact same way, Jenna. So you are not the only person on earth that would feel like an idiot asking questions. So I understand that completely.
Oh.
Now, see,
Well,
isn't that the gospel truth? I bet everybody has felt that, and that's the luxury of being at home. You don't feel like an idiot when you ask a question at home.
right.
At least I hope we don't make you feel like idiots, right?
No, you could seriously be in tears in front of your mom asking, I just don't get this, and she'll still walk you through it and encourage you. And that determination to solve the problem rather than just giving it up and Googling it later, it's like it's a completely different, it's more challenging just to figure it out, like sit down and figure the thing out rather than just sort of throwing in the towel and being like, well, maybe I'll get this answered, maybe we'll just come back to this tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah, really.
I think it's important to remember we're raising thinkers. We want our kids to be thinkers, and we have, I feel like that's what we're doing with our kids, but sometimes that bites me in the rear end because they
think. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, they think and they question, and you're just, I just want you to do it, just do it, And
me for once, don't argue, okay?
Yeah, just do it. And there's sometimes they have to just do it. But, I think it is, overall, as much as it can be a pain sometimes, we want our kids to think. And now I'm seeing, our 3 adult kids, and I'm watching how they process things and how they just have so much discernment. Like they'll go into a situation and they will just nail what's going on there. And I'm thinking, I couldn't do that until I was at least in my 30s. And I see, Jenna and, her brother and sister who are adults too, doing the same thing. And Jenna especially, I really feel like she has a lot of discernment. She also has a lot of really good ability to communicate. And I think one of the things that brought that about were all the times we butted heads when she was schooling. From about 13 on, it was not a lot of fun a lot of the time, and so
I was a hot mess.
And I had a lot to learn about being a mom, and about where she was coming from, and all of that. And I think that would actually probably be a really good segue into the next question about, I have 6 kids, and my second eldest brings out the worst in me. I worry I'm damaging our relationship. How can I love and appreciate who she is while expecting great things from her? And I think that is a great question. That mom obviously really cares about her daughter to ask that question. So Jenna, tell us what you think.
Oh, goodness. Well, being just approaching her with a more humble attitude maybe than with your other kids, because I just remember being frustrated when Mom wouldn't admit when she was wrong, or when I felt like she was wrong.
On you, Durenda.
Well, we all have those moments, and I can
right.
totally understand that from a parent's viewpoint. It's like, I can't be wrong because she'll lose respect for me. And that's not true. Your kids actually respect you a lot more when you're willing to admit your faults and your weaknesses and situations that you didn't handle well, or rather than them just having to, deal with it. So, sorry, I'm not beating you up, Mom, I promise.
Well, and I think...
No, Kids
I'm
are perfect. We
listening
get
to
that.
her, and I'm thinking, it was especially hard when we first started having conflict, and that was probably one of the first things that I learned was I just needed to go back to her and be responsible for my part in the conflict. It didn't
To
mean
be
she her part,
responsible.
but I took responsibility for
Yeah.
mine and made sure that she knew that I knew I was wrong. And that was something that I got a lot of practice at in the following years.
Well, and it taught me to also admit when I was wrong. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to mimic that behavior. So just admitting when you're wrong and knowing her love language and affirming her in the ways that she needs to be affirmed and loved. And um, for me, it was physical touch was my big thing. Like if my mom didn't hug me for a couple of days, I was like, I don't know, I just fell apart, sort of. I just didn't feel as connected to her. And that can be words for them, like words of affirmation. That can be spending some quality time with them, all the love languages that exist. Just loving her that way and knowing her that way. And then she sees that you took the time to
Mm-hmm.
love her and know her. And really, when you're in a family of 6, 8, 10 kids, it can be hard. You can feel like you kind of just get lost in the muddle, and you're the problem sometimes. And you definitely don't want her to feel like the problem child, ever.
What I find very interesting between you two is the challenges that y'all went through with when you were in your teenage years and struggling to find your balance and figure out how to work together. And now y'all are so close.
Mm-hmm. We are, yeah. I think it's almost like it made our relationship stronger in the end. Now we're like best friends. We can't wait to get together for coffee. We can't wait to go shopping together.
Mm-hmm.
We just have fun just hanging out together, and sometimes she'll come and spend the night, and I get all excited because she's coming to spend the night. And
Having a sleepover.
yeah, or when her and
Yeah.
Sam come and visit. I love it when they both come and visit and hang out with us. And so yeah, it's really been neat to see that not giving up and just continuing to try to press in and have a good relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it was not smooth. It was not smooth a lot of the time. It was hard, and yet you fight for that relationship, and it's worth it. It's so worth
Mm-hmm.
it. And I was going to mention one of the things that I don't know that I did probably often enough, but I would recommend to any mom to periodically write your kids a letter
Mm-hmm.
about what you appreciate about them, what you love about them, their strengths, and just encourage them through words in a letter, because sometimes visually I get distracted by other stuff that's going on in the room, and I don't get to complete the thoughts in my head of how much I care about this person and the things that I really want to say. So when I have a quiet time to myself and I'm thinking about them, I've sent emails to the kids, just surprised them, and they just beam. They love it. And it's also a great thing for them to hang on to. So if you're at a hard time in your relationship, they on those letters and say, hey, mom does love me, and
You've got it in
this is
writing.
what she really thinks about me. Exactly.
Yeah. That's a great suggestion. You ought to write an article on that, by the way.
Yeah, I could do that.
You could do that. You have a platform for it, don't you? Okay, so next one, is there one that you wanted to go to, or you want me to pick?
Oh, you go ahead and pick.
Okay. This is one that we were sort of talking about a few minutes ago about high school, but it says, I want to shelter my kids from how mean society can be, but I'm concerned they won't be able to handle it when they do have to deal with it. You talked about that last time, about how it was shocking to you. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you say? What do you say to somebody that wants to shelter, but yet at the same time they don't want them to be shocked?
Really, it's more important to be building your kids' confidence in their morals and in their beliefs and just in who they are and how they react to it. Because we really can't control how mean society is, never. And it will be shocking to them, I'm sure.
And it's
Uh,
getting meaner, darn. We hope
yeah.
we hope it doesn't get any worse, but yeah.
Mhm.
Well, something that you said last time was that I think is so smart and so intuitive on your part was about that response. You said, it's the only thing I can control is my response.
Mhm.
And I love that because that is so true. And I think that we do have to, what was it we posted the other day, Durenda? And it was an article and it said something about it's not our job to help our children get used to a mean society. It's our job to teach our children how to change it in the future.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, I think Jenna gets that. She embodies that. That's exactly what she was saying last time
It
about
is
mercy.
right. And I think the only way that change can happen is to be responsible ourselves
Mhm.
to in how we respond to it. And I think, depending on what age you're talking about, I don't think it's fair to throw a second grader out there to the
No.
wolves. That we were talked about this the other day, that it's slow, it's incremental. We initially start out, yes, we need to protect them, and we teach them what's right and wrong, and we lay a foundation, because like Jenna said, they need to grow in confidence and in their own moral framework first and have that established. Then it can start to be tested down the road, and I think that has to happen you know
In
a
a
little
safe
bit at a
environment when they're
time.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
When they're at
granted,
home.
life, yeah, and life is going to bring that stuff along. At first it's going to come through siblings. You're going to have to deal with them, and
Yep.
that's a good training ground. So
And
that's a great place.
your siblings can be meaner to you sometimes than society's going to be to you.
Yeah, she talked about that last time. I was wondering if she was going to go there.
I won't name names, but they've bit me before, and you've been bit to the point of bleeding by one of your siblings. Of course, you can handle whatever
I hope nobody's
society will
biting you out in
throw
public, Jenna. Oh my goodness, so funny.
at you.
Oh my goodness, that's so
Oh,
funny. But yeah, they just, it's going to happen, and they're gonna get, they're gonna be exposed to it. I think Jenna shared, she had a little bit of that in high school. I remember there were a few different people, because they went to that parent partnership program once a week. They got a little bit of taste. The other kids were homeschooled too, but there's mean homeschoolers out there, and they, got to experience a little bit of that in, like you said, a more, protected environment. But it was still happening. Stuff was still happening there, and they had to decide how they were going to do with it and how they were going to deal with it. One of the things that we would always do, and we still do it to this day, we've been involved in this program for about 11 years. Every time we drive to go there for classes, we pray on the way, and we just ask the Lord to protect them.
And
And
it's amazing too how many things just went over our heads with
mhm,
that.
mhm.
That stuff that I never knew was going on in that place. I was like, what? Someone was smoking weed on the playground? You know?
You didn't know what it was. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
way
One
to
of the
kind of,
things that I think that, go ahead. We have awful delay, but at least we don't have that echo. Darn, that echo was
yeah,
awful. I
that
can
was
deal with
nasty.
delay.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think that as homeschool moms, sometimes we want to take away all the challenges and all the things that our children have to deal with, and I think that's a mistake because I think the whole point of the training at home is to give them an environment where they can come home and talk to mom or dad and say, "Hey, this was happening up there. This is how I dealt with it. What do you think?" And just having that
Hmm.
safe environment to discuss it and to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. After class every week, I ask them, was everything okay? How did your classes go? Was there anything that happened that they needed to talk about? And we've just ended up having some really good conversations. And you're right, Trish. We need to. Sometimes my kids have made mistakes, at school, and we've talked about, well, do you think that was the best decision, and why or why not, and just really get them thinking it through as to why they did or responded the way that they did and how they might better respond the next time. And so that's just, I think that's great because we're preparing our kids for life. That's what we want. We want them to be prepared for life and relation, how to
Exactly.
handle mean people is all part of the picture.
And like you said, it's incremental and it's age
Mhm.
based. You can't. Yeah. Let's not throw them out there too early.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's great. Okay, so there's two more, and one of them was a great question that you answered last time, so I'm going to ask it again. Do you feel like you missed out on anything? Going to the prom, movies, etc.?
No, I
We were
still
talking
like
about
to.
football games. You
Oh, yeah.
talked about one of the things was football games. You talked about that.
I had been to a couple of football games with my cousins and stuff whenever we went over there to visit them, and I just, it wasn't really my thing. I wasn't into the sport. It was cold, and I didn't like being cold, and I didn't like being out that late, and I didn't know any of the people, and it was just like, no, this isn't fun at all, you know. Um, so I didn't really. That was not my scene, and I never. I felt prom. I felt would have gone, and then I heard from my husband, who was dragged to prom kicking and screaming, um, exactly what prom was like, at least in that particular district. And I was like, oh, so it's kind of like introducing high schoolers to clubbing. And that didn't sound like my scene either. So, I didn't really feel like I missed out on anything dignified, substantial.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, you
So,
said the
so
dresses. You would have liked those.
I would have loved to dress up, but that's really where it stops.
yeah. Yeah. Hey, from looking back and hearing stories about, what other folks have done, is there anything that you would do differently? I don't think we asked that question last time, so I'm throwing a new question at you. Sorry. We have to keep it a little spontaneous, right?
Differently
Keep you on
as
your
far
toes.
as
Just for you in general, from a homeschool perspective, from a socialization perspective, is there anything that you wish had been done differently that, mom still got kids at home, she can still adjust, right?
yeah. Well, just having a curriculum that fits your kid's learning style better. Like this, me and the Saxon math just did not get along, and it was just because it was a bad fit for me. And I think looking back, like I would have preferred to be a little bit more, what's the word? More like custom fitted
For the
curriculum, I
math,
guess.
yeah. Yeah. Now, see,
Um,
isn't that good, Durenda? See, we talk about that all the time, and here's a child that has walked through this. She's no longer a child; she's definitely grown, about to have her own. But you've walked through that, and so we really do. That's something we need to continue to encourage moms. Listen to your kids when they're struggling. Find what works.
if it's
Right,
just
right.
repeated, like they feel like they're hitting their head against a wall over and over and over again with this curriculum, clearly it's just not working for them and it's time to switch.
Well, that's a really hard, it's funny you should say that because it's one of the things that I think homeschool moms struggle with, and you were part of your mother's guinea pig, environment,
I was
not
only the
knowing.
second one.
That's right. So it's interesting because when the older ones are the guinea pigs, and it's hard to figure out when to switch,
Yeah.
when to change, when is it too long, and when have we not committed enough, or when is it, so that's a struggle for homeschool moms. You're going to find that out,
It is.
when to switch.
Mhm.
Well, and I think you remember, Trish, when I shared that story
Hmm.
about our 12-year-old when I kept switching. Okay, so
Hmm.
I learned, okay, so this isn't working for her. We need to do something different. So I kept switching, and what I didn't know I was doing was undermining her confidence because she felt like doesn't matter what kind of math I try, I stink at it. So
Mhm.
Exactly.
there was
It's a
that end of the
fun.
spectrum too. And so, yeah, so
Exactly.
finally
Then on
I
one end
thought,
saying, let's change her quicker, and then you have the other child that said, well, the changes were undermining my confidence. So yeah, it
right.
is a very fine line to find
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, and I
Well,
think in high school, Jenna, didn't we switch you to something like consumer math
mhm.
at one point just
Yeah,
because we were realizing
it
this
makes
wasn't
sense.
working, and so we went to consumer math. We knew that that would be practical and helpful for her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For me,
And
like Saxons took so it was so time consuming and so advanced and frustrating, and I just was not. I couldn't focus that long. There was no way I could get through reading like 5 paragraphs about what we're doing that I really wasn't like absorbing anyway, and then doing the practice and then doing the lesson. Like, it was just way too much for me. I needed something just more bottom line, more visual, and everybody learns differently. So that was just me. But I would still have been hesitant to switch from Saxon to another curriculum, oddly enough, just because kids have a difficult time just starting over again when they've made progress in a book, you know.
Right.
So that's one thing to keep in mind.
Right, and I've got 3 kids who love Saxon math. They love it. They live for it. So
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
who knows? Yeah.
Well, I love that conversation, though. I'm glad you said that, because that's, that's really something that we do talk about a lot on Mentoring Moms, and so that's just confirmation that that's something we need to focus on, Durenda. Okay, so we have one more question, and we've sort of answered it, but we're still going to ask it just because I don't think we answered it directly. It says, I'm considering letting my middle high school age kids make the decision each year whether or not they want to go to public school. Do you think you would have ever tried public school? Didn't we ask that?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I feel like that we have to take into consideration is that you talked about time was the school district, it's, the quality of education. I think there's some things that have to be taken into consideration there, don't you? Besides just the child's decision.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that make a difference in a school district. It really depends on where you are and what the school is like and what the kids are like. And I don't think either of the schools that I could have gone to would have been good schools to go to. So that might
for
be...
you, it wouldn't have been a good decision then.
No, it wouldn't have.
But would you have liked the choice? Would you have appreciated having the choice to go to public school?
Even though my mom didn't even though she didn't directly present it to me every year, like, okay, it's time to decide if you want to homeschool or go to public school, I always felt like I had that option. If I really wanted to go to public school, she would let me. Wow. So I didn't feel like that was ever something
that was off the table.
Yeah, that was off the table completely. Like, if I really felt like I needed to buckle down and if I felt like I needed the accountability of teachers, then I had that option. But let's pursue some other options first, Very
good. You want to add anything to that? Yeah?
Got quite a delay. Okay, are we good now?
Yeah.
I think so.
One of the questions that I don't think I transferred over here was one about curriculum and preparing your child for college. I think someone was asking if I had sent any kids to college, and we do have a 19-year-old who's a senior in college right now, and he did the Running Start program, which is, I think it varies from state to state whether it's available or not, but basically when he was a junior in high school he started going to the community college, and that gave him college credits and high school credits at the same time. So when he graduated his AA from college, and he got his high school diploma, and then now he's at a local university finishing his last couple of years, and so that was a really great opportunity for him. As far as curriculum goes, I am not the curriculum guru, but I do know that if you teach your kids to love learning, and it sounds like you teach them, the truth is they are natural learners, and your job is just to ignite that learning by just encouraging it. You're just encouraging what's already there. So that's just a very different thing than teaching and shoving facts down our kids' throats. This is about, okay, look at your child as a natural learner who's ready to learn, and follow their lead and encourage the learning that they want to do. And so the bottom line is that you don't want to burn them out. And we see this happening in the public school system where they load the kids down for years and years and years, and by the time they get to 12 or 13, they're so burnt out, they don't really even want to do schoolwork anymore. And what we found is at our house, the opposite happens. We incrementally grow the kids into schoolwork, and when they get to 13, 14, somewhere in there, they start to really own it, and they realize what they can learn, and it's like the whole world is their oyster, and they just start blossoming. So you're encouraging learning, and you're showing them where to find out what it is that they want to know. And if they have those two things, they can do anything. And so that would be my biggest encouragement to prepare your kids for college or whatever it is they're going to do.
I love that. And I love that here we are talking to Jenna, and we see how what happens when you let a child do what they wanted to do, not necessarily that they didn't get to do school, because obviously you did school, but you got to pursue your own interests too. And as it turns out, it's one of your strong suits now. And so I love that. I loved hearing about your experiences, and of course, I'm going to pick on Durenda about this forever. There's certain things that you said that that's fodder for later. I'm really going to get her some of that. No, I'm not. You know better. But it's fun. It's fun to hear the other side, because we hear Durenda talking all the time. So it's really fun to hear the other side of the equation, the child that went through that homeschool environment. So thank you so much for being here with us, Jenna. We enjoyed it.
Well, thank you for having me.
And good luck with your baby. So December 4th, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Durenda, you're going to have to keep us up to date on Mentoring Moms, because now everybody knows about Jenna and when she's due, and we all want to hear how everything goes, okay?
Okay.
That's right. We'll share.
Well, thank you so much for being a guinea pig. Thank you for sharing with us. And you start homeschooling, and then we'll have the next stage, the next phase, right?
Next generation.
Okay. Wouldn't that be fun? Now, Jenna actually blogs. I don't know if she's going to be blogging anytime soon, but what's the name of your blog, Jenna?
Generously Loved.
Generously Loved. So be sure to, if you want to keep up with her and get to know Jenna, you can check her out there. And, of course, Durenda blogs at Simple Nourishing Home. Yep. So, and she's here with us every week, so you can keep up with Durenda too. So, thank you so much. We hope y'all have a good rest of the week, and hopefully we'll be back next week on time, and I'll know what day it is. Okay. Y'all have a great end of the week. Bye, y'all.
All right. Bye.